In Hebrew it's called etz odo.
They're called ankle bracelets.
Ankle bracelets, yeah. You know what that is? The women put on the ankle. I don't think it's too common in the Orthodox. Women don't really do it. But I guess... They do? Teimani, okay. V'shivchin, and that is bracelets on the hand, on the arm, right?
Clasps.
Clasps. Rashi says bracelets on the hand.
Ankles and anklets.
No, that's the first one.
Yeah, but rings and earrings. And
next is rings. Tabas.
Clasps.
Tabas is rings for the finger. Iskin, he says, iskin.
Skin, rings, earrings.
Kadoshin.
Clasp, I know what clasp is.
Kadoshin is
Kadoshin.
something that goes on in the womb, Something that goes by the women's private parts. Lechapora al nafshon sono kodem Hashem. We're bringing this as an offering to Hashem to atone for what? What did they do? What did they do bad that they need to atone for something?
Because nobody died.
No, but what?
I mean, it was a miracle. If you have a battle or a miracle war when nobody dies, and
no, but what did they have to atone for? What sin did they do? These weren't the people that sinned with the women of the daughters of Midian, right? Yeah. It says they were all righteous people. So it says here that even though they didn't sin in action, but they did have bad thoughts. They had bad thoughts. And you're not even supposed to have bad thoughts. Even though there's something called a captive woman. You know that about the captive woman? Mm-hmm. Someone goes out to war and he sees a beautiful woman and he wants to have relations with her. So he's allowed to, but he has to then bring her and try and convert her to Judaism. Right? So, okay. Unasev Moshe, Unasev Moshe ve'Elazar kana estavu min hoin kol man doivodo. So Moshe and Elazar took the gold from them. All the, how does he translate that in English?
all the gold from them.
All the gold.
Every fashioned vessel.
All the fashioned vessels. They were very fashioned really nicely. V'hava kol to have afrishusa, and all the gold that they separated, the afrishu kodem Hashem, which they gave to Hashem, shito asar alfin, 16,000, shvameo v'chamshin silin, 750 shekels of gold. That's how much it came out to. It's a lot of gold. Min rabbonei alfin, from the officers of the 1,000, min rabbonei mavoson, the officers of the hundreds. Gavra dechela, the people of the army, bazu gvar lenafshe, each took for themselves the loot. When they say Moshe and Elazar Kahana, and Moshe and Elazar took the gold, the Kohen took the gold min rabbonei alfin and mavoson from the officers of the 1,000 and the hundreds, and they brought it to the tabernacle, Dochrona livnei Yisrael kodem Hashem, memorial for the Jewish people in front of Hashem. Okay. The Ramban says, what did they do with all this gold? The Ramban says they made out of it vessels for the tabernacle, to use for sacrifices. For the, I don't know what to sprinkle the blood or whatever they need for in the tabernacle. And this was a memorial to remember that the Jewish people repented and so they won the war against the Midianites. Okay, now we're going to go to, you have a Tanakh, we're going to go to Yeshaya chapter 7. The book of Yeshaya, chapter 7, verse 1. Vayhi b'mei Achaz ben Yosam ben Uziyahu melech Yehuda Allah Ratzin melech Aram ufekach ben Malio melech Yisrael Yerushalayim למלחמה עליהו ולא יכול להילחם עליהו ויוגד לבית דוד לאמור נוחו ארם על אפרים ויונה לבבו אל לבב עמוי כנוי העצייה מפני רוח ויאמר אדוני אל ישעיהו צאנו לקראת אחוז עתו ושער ישוב בנךו אל קצה תעולס הבריחו עליונו אל מסילסתי חויבייס ואומרת אליו ישומר והשקט אל תיראו ולבבך אל ירח משני זנבוי סעודים והשנים האלה בחוריה רצין וארום ובן רמליהו יען כי יעצו לך ארום רו אפרים ובן רמליהו לאמור נעלה ויהודו נקיצנו ונפקיענו אלינו ונמליך מלך בסריחו אס בן תובל כה יאמר אדוני אלוהים לא יסקום ולא יסיה כי ראש ארום דמשק וראש דמשק רצין וביועד 65 שנה יכעס אפרים מיום וראש אפרים שומרון וראש שומרון בן רמליהו אם לא יסמינו כי לא יסיימנו ויוסף אדוני ידבר אל אחוז לאמור שלחו ישמעים אדוני אליך המק שלו אוי הגביה למעלו ויאמר אחוז לא ישל ולא אנסס אדוני ויאמר שמעונו בית דוד המת מכם הלא ישא אנשים כי סלוג אמס אלוהי לא כן ייתן אדוני הוא לכם אויס הנה העלמו הורו וילדס בין וקרוס שמוי עמנואל חמוד דבש יאכל לדעתוי מויס ברו בחור בתוי כי בטרם ידע הנער מויס ברו ובחור בתוי תעזבו אדמה אשר תקוץ מפני שני מלוכהו יובי אדוני עולך ועל עמך ועל בית סביך יומים אשר לא יבואו למיום סור אפרים על יהודו אס מלך אשור ויום ההוא ישרוק אדוני לזבוב שבקצה יוירי מצרים ולדברו אשר בארץ אשור ובואו ונוחו חלום בנחלי הבסויס ובנקיקי הסלועים ובכל הנצוצים ובכל הנלוילים ויום ההוא יגלח אדוני בשר הסחירו בעברי נהור במלך אשור 10 ראש ושר הרגליים וגם את הזקון תספה ביום ההוא יחיה איש אגלס בקור 2 צאן מרוי עשו ישחולו ויאכל חמו כי חמו דבש יאכל כל הנאסור בקרב הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה כל מקום אשר ישום 1000 גפן ב1000 כוסף לשמיר ולשייס יהיה בחיצים ובקשס יוביו שומו כי שמיר ושייס תהיה כל הארץ וכל ההורים אשר במדר ירדרון לא יסובו שומו יראה שמיר ושייס ויהיה למשלח שואל ולמיר מעשה. We're going to back chapter 7 Yeshaya chapter 7 verse 1. Chapter 7 verse 1. I read chapter 7 verse 1. But now we're going to explain it. You'll go to the Ulpan? Do you go to the Ulpan?
Yeah.
Do you go to the Ulpan, David?
No.
You know Hebrew?
A bit.
You bit, okay. How about you, Avishai? You go to the
I've been here
Ulpan?
40 years and he's on that.
So you speak Hebrew?
I don't need to get to the other one.
So you speak Hebrew fluently.
He's from Yom Medina, Manchester.
Hello, what's your name?
Sefi.
Sefi.
Yosef.
You're not joining us. Okay, you're just looking for a safer.
Chapter
Okay,
7.
chapter 7, verse 1. So I'm going to read Targum Yonason, like we did yesterday, and I'm going to explain it.
Sure. 4, 8.
And if I don't understand, I want you to read to me what it says in English, but I'm going to... You have it?
What are we doing now?
Isaiah chapter 7, verse 1. No, close that booklet you have over there and look in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 1.
4, 8.
Join the program.
4:8.
8485.
485.
Need to join the program.
No, well.
No, we're not doing that
you were
now.
singing
Now we're
that
doing
parasha now, right?
right. You should have joined
And
with
you're
me.
singing number 5.
No, I was singing number 7.
Oh, that's. Oh,
Hi,
because-
Malachi, come sit down. Get a Tanakh.
What we doing? What page?
Tanakh,
485.
Isaiah, chapter 7, verse 1. You have it?
Yep.
No, don't use an iPod. Use a real book. A real book. A
We
real
don't know what
Tanakh.
we don't know what you're looking at.
Isaiah, give me the book. I'll show you.
No, I've got 485.
You've got it. Okay. Do you have another Tanakh here somewhere? Malachi, you want to look together with him?
You can share a
Take
place.
pieces. You take these and I'll-
It's not. That's not that. That's a
Yeah.
Mishnah Berurah. That's not a Tanakh.
No, I'm moving this out of the way.
The glasses, they are.
Thanks.
485. Number 7.
Number 7, verse 1. We're going to read the Aramaic translation, which was written by Yonatan ben Uziel. If any of you need to get married, go to his grave.
Jonathan Ben Uziel.
Yes. They say a lot of women, they leave their sitters there with their name and phone number. And then,
That's why you get married, not because of Jonathan.
then someone finds the sitter and he calls up the girl and says, I want to do a mitzvah returning a lost object, and that's how they meet.
Or beaches have Women's Day and Men's Day, but the graveyard doesn't. Because the whole point is to meet the woman there.
Wow.
Nah.
I did get that. Okay.
It's getting weird.
Okay. Chapter 7, verse 1. V'hava b'yoymei Ochos. In the time of Ochos,
There's no.
Ochos was the king of Yehuda. His father, Bar Yosam. His father was called Yosam. Ochos was not righteous. Yosam was righteous. Bar Uzziyo, the son of Uzziyo. You remember we learned about Uzziyo that what? What happened with Uzziyo?
He burned the incense and got
Right. He got leprosy, tzoraz. Melach shifta the base
Are
Yehuda.
we allowed to burn incense today?
No.
Serious?
Not you're not allowed to make the same incense that was in the temple. Melach shifta the base Yehuda, the king of the tribe of Yehuda. Slik Ritzin Malkod Aram, Ritzin, the king of Aram, which is Syria. Ufekach bar Yohu, and Fekach Malkod Yisrael, the king of Israel. Yerushalayim. These two kings went to Jerusalem, La'agocha krova alo, to make a war against it. V'lo yochi la'agocha alo, but they couldn't win. Okay? Because Jerusalem also had an army. V'ischavu lebeis David lemeimor, and it was told to the house of David following, Ischabar Malkod Aram in Malkod Yisrael. Lemeis Aloi. The king of Aram had come together with the king of Israel to come on Jerusalem. V'zol libe, so he was afraid. V'libo da'ame, and the people were afraid. Kish dedoyus ilone chursham in kodam rucha. The heart felt like the trees of the forest when there's a wind. So that's how the heart was beating hard, right? When you hear the rocket, right? You hear the rocket over you, your heart starts beating. What's going to happen, right? So here they were afraid. Here there was a big army coming against them. V'amar Hashem l'Yishayahu, and Hashem said to Yishaya, Pu ka'an lekodmos Ochos. Go towards Ochos, the king, at you, u'sha'ar talmidach, and your students, Deloi Chotu, that didn't sin. All your students that haven't sinned. U'desavu michato, and those that had repented from their sins. Lisyofe mezikas brechosa elosa, to the water, the pool of water, the bechevash chakal, that's in the chevash chakal mashtach tziraya. There was a pool of water that was used by the people that washed the clothes. How does it translate in English? Fish ponds.
Aqueduct.
Aqueduct?
Yeah.
It was on the mountain in Jerusalem. That's where he was. The Malbim says this was the Siloam. You've been through the tunnel? Anyone been through the tunnel?
No, I haven't through.
The Chizkiyahu did, okay. V'seimar lei, and he said to him, and you should say to him, Yeshaya should say to the king, Istamer v'noach. Be careful, but calm down. Lo yisitchal, don't be afraid. V'liboch lo yazua. Your heart should not fear. Min kodam train Rav from these two kings. The inun kudayo masanayo alein. They're like the two tails of fire. Biskoy for gas. It should be like two tails that got burned by fire. Don't be afraid of them. Aram and Baram Alio. Ritzin va'aram u'baram Alio. Ritzin va'aram u'ben Alio. He was Ritzin. Ritzin was the king of Aram, and Pekach ben Ramalio was the king of Israel. So don't be afraid of them. Chalaf, Arei Melach Aloch Aram Bisho Ephraim Ubar Malio Lemeimor. Because the king of Aram talked bad about you, and to Ramalio, and he said the following: Nisak Barod Beis Yehuda. Let's go up to Yehuda, to Jerusalem, and the Chabrinon. Let's go break the walls. V'neshavino nimono, and we'll cut them down. We'll v'namnich malko begavo yasman de kosher. We'll make a new king who we like. So they want to put a new king. Whoever we want, we'll put our own king there in Yehuda. We'll get rid of Ochaz and make a new king. Kidnan Amar Hashem Elokim. This is what Hashem said. Lo yisokum v'lo yitev. It's not going to happen. Arei Reish Aram Damesek. The head of Syria is what? What's the capital of Syria? Damascus. Damascus. Reish Damesek, and the head of Damascus is Bashir Assad. No, Ritzin. Ritzin. Ubesov, he got voted in again. Yeah. Ubesov Shitin v'chamesh shnin.
Was it democratic?
No.
Yeah, 90%.
Ubesov, there was no one else wearing against him. Ubesov Shitin v'chamesh shnin, and at the end of 65 years, Yivtilun Beis Yisrael Mimlochu. The kingdom of Israel will not have a king anymore. Because 65 years later, what happened? There was the exile of the 10 tribes of Israel. So the Israel didn't have a king anymore. So it said, Rashi gives a whole cheshbon here that it was 65 years later. So Damascus and Jerusalem is two separate cities, and Damascus has no right to take over Jerusalem. And if you say, well, maybe the king of Israel should take over Jerusalem, no, because they're not even going to be a king anymore. In 65 years, they're going to be gone. Vereish Ephraim, and the head of Ephraim is, because the kings, a lot of the kings of Israel were descended from Ephraim, right? And Shomron is in Ephraim. Shomron is what?
The capital.
The capital is next to Shechem, right? That was the capital of the kingdom of Israel, was in Shomron, which they call today Samaria, right?
Is that like, what area is that? The north?
It's near Shechem, near Nablus. They know where it is. It's a place. If you look on a map, you'll see it says. Sebastia it's called, right. Verei Shomron, and the head of Samaria, Shomron, is Baram Aliohu. That's the king, right? Pekach ben Ramaliohu. Im loite homnon, if you don't believe my prophecy, b'milei nevayo, And I know you're not going to believe my prophecy because they were wicked, right? So Achaz didn't really trust him because he didn't believe his prophecies. He didn't listen to Yeshaya. Arei loitis kaimun, because you don't believe in Hashem, you don't believe in the prophecy. He was idol worship. And then the prophet of Hashem, Yeshaya, continued to tell Achaz the following. If you want, ask for a sign. Because I know that you don't believe the words of Hashem. But ask for a sign. What do you want? Ask for a miracle on earth. Or there should be a miracle from heaven. What does this mean? Ask for a miracle. Ve'amar Achaz. So Achaz said, Lo yashal, I won't ask, v'lo yanasi kodem Hashem, and I won't test Hashem. Ve'amar, and he said, who said? Isaiah said.
Yeah. But Achaz said.
Achaz said, I'm not going to ask for a miracle.
And he said, who's he?
Yeshaya.
Yeshaya said.
Why he said? Why did he say I'm not going to ask? Because I don't believe you. I don't believe what you say. I don't believe you that Hashem talks to you. I don't believe in the word of Hashem.
Okay.
One of the Mefarshim says here what Yeshaya said to him. You can ask for a sign. If you want, you can ask for a sign that the dead people should come back to life. That's from the earth. Or you can ask for a sign from heaven, which means that Eliyahu Hanavi will come down from heaven, and you'll see Eliyahu Hanavi come down from heaven. He said, no, I don't want it. I don't believe you. You don't have to. I'm not asking for anything. Va'amar. So Yeshaya said, Shmo Ka'al. Why didn't he want? Because he didn't want the name of Hashem to become holy through him. That's what he says here. He was so wicked, he didn't even want the name of Hashem to be holy through. Va'amar. So Yeshaya said, Shmo Ka'al Beis David. Listen, the people of the house of David. Not just you put down the prophets of Hashem, you're also going to put down Hashem himself. But I'm going to tell you that there is going to be a sign. And I'm going to tell you what the sign is. Hashem is going to give a sign. Your wife is going to give birth. Talid bar, and she's going to have a son. V'tikrei shmei imanu keil, and you're going to call his name, God is with us. Who is this? Who was the son of Achaz? Chizkiyahu HaMelech, Chizkiyahu the king. So he said, your wife is going to give birth, and your wife is going to give him this name, Imanu Keil, God is with us, because his wife was a righteous. And she'll be like a prophet. Sheman udvash yechol. He'll eat oil, he'll eat butter and honey. Ad lo yodo aleim al archoka bisha lekorva tova. Even when he's very young, the land will be full of good. What does this mean? It says here, he'll be able to eat food when as soon as he's born. That's how the Radak says this means. I don't know. He'll be able to eat butter and honey. You know, they say you shouldn't feed babies honey till they're a year old. You heard that before?
Butter.
Butter also, I don't know.
Full of fat. Maybe it was a luxury meat. Good. Maybe it was a luxury good back then.
Okay, this verse is used by the Christians, you know that, right?
Yeah,
But they say, in the New Testament, they changed this word here. It says Alma, and they changed it to virgin.
a virgin.
But it doesn't say virgin in the Hebrew. It says Alma. Alma just means a young girl. And in some of the new editions that they publish, the Christians, they said that it's wrong that they bring this verse. Some they agree with it because they know the Hebrew and it's not what it says in the Hebrew. In the Hebrew it just says.
So Miriam, Haya,
And this is talking. It's not even. This whole chapter is talking about ochos. It's not talking about. It's talking about ochos. It's talking to ochos, right? But
no,
use
but I'm
this-
saying in the same Virgin Mary was probably a young girl.
It was one thing
Yeah,
about
but it's
the
not
man.
talking about her.
I know.
They use this
but
verse.
Yeah, he speaks to Achaz. He's telling him, you're going to get a sign. What do you think? You're going to get a sign 500 years later?
So the Radak brings it. He says that he writes here, but they took some of it out, the censorship. But he writes about this, that they use it, the Christians. Okay. Anyway, he'll eat butter and he'll eat honey. Ad lo yoda aleima l'rchoka bisha l'karva tova. Even when he's very young, when he doesn't know the difference between wrong and right. Are ad lo yoda aleima l'rchoka bisha. Even when the child doesn't know about evil, or l'karva tova, and to bring near to him, tisretish arodiat make min kodam train malko. The land, you won't be afraid anymore of these two kings. Why? Because that year, the king of Ashur went and conquered Damascus, and he killed Ritzin, the king of Aram, the king of Syria. And that year also, Hoshea ben Elah, not the prophet Hoshea, this is talking about the king Hoshea, killed Pekach. So they both died. So both these two kings, who you shouldn't be afraid of them. This is part of the sign. It's telling him, don't be afraid, because Hashem, this year they're going to die also. Yesei Hashem aloch, and Hashem will bring you v'alamoch, and your people v'albeisavuch, and your family. Yoimin deloy osu, days that haven't been lemiyoima dispaligu beis Yisrael, from the days that the Jewish people divided al the beis Yehuda, and they're going to Yas Malkad Asa, the king of Assyria, is going to come also on you, on Chizkiah, it says. Because the king of King Sancherib, right? He tried to conquer Yerushalayim. So, basically, what these verses are saying, that he's telling him that he's going to have a son who's going to be righteous, even though he's wicked. It's a sign that Hashem is a prophet of Hashem. He's telling him he's going to have a son who's going to be righteous, right? And like we mentioned yesterday, Yeshaya, later on, Chizkiah was very sick, and Yeshaya came to him and he said, "You're going to die." So Chizkiah said, "Why?" He said, because you're not married. You're supposed to get married." So Chizkiah said, the reason why I didn't get married, because I saw that I'm going to have bad children. So I didn't want to get married and have bad children. So Yeshaya said to him, you're supposed to do what Hashem says. Hashem says the mitzvah in the Torah to get married, you're supposed to get married. It's none of your business what's going to happen later. You have to do the mitzvah, getting married. So Chizkiah says to him, okay, so you know what? Let me marry your daughter, and in your merit, maybe we'll have good children. So Yeshaya agreed, and he prayed to Hashem. He got better. He got married, and Menashe was born. Menashe was a wicked king, but some say that at the end of his life he did teshuvah. He did teshuvah. So
33 years.
what?
33 years, around.
Last 3 years?
33 years.
33 years he did teshuvah.
He's speaking about 55 years in the Talmud, and like 22 years he was wicked. 33 years he did teshuvah.
Okay. Continue here. V'yehei be'ednahu, and in that time, Yachle Hashem will whistle la'am kitre, to the people that are far away. Meshiris Gibaraya, the strong soldiers. The Sagin Kidvavaya, that were as many as flies. V'yesinu misyofe ar de Mitzrayim, they'll come from the ends of the land of Egypt. Because Sancherib, he conquered Egypt, and he got a lot of their soldiers to come with him. Ulazizei Mashirioso, and to other soldiers who are very strong, Dinun Tekifu Gedabriyaisu, that are strong like bees. V'yaisinu misyofe ar de Asur. So he'll bring all these soldiers the soldiers from Egypt are compared to flies, and the soldiers from Iraq, from northern Iraq, are compared to bees. I guess because they're better soldiers. And that's true, because I was in Egypt, and the soldiers there they're not good soldiers. Even today. The Iraqi soldiers are
They make it no better though.
they're a little better than the Egyptian soldiers. The Egyptian soldiers are very lazy, they don't do anything.
But they're drafts.
Huh?
They're drafts, what do you expect?
Yeah, the Iraq also. V'yesun v'yishrun kulain b'rchoive kirvayo. And they'll come, all of them will come to Israel, and they'll be in the streets, b'shkifei chayfayo, and in all the caves, b'chol madberei natzatzai, b'chol batei tushbechoso. They'll be in all the palaces, they'll take over the whole of Israel. B'idonahu, on that day, Yiktoil Hashem b'hoin, Hashem will kill them. K'mod miskatel b'char b'charifa, like with a strong sword. B'sivchai v'mgeraya be'ever and arrow b'malko the Asur. Hashem will kill all his soldiers. V'yas milko v'yas mashirioso v'yas yas shiltoinen kachadoi sheitze. He'll kill all the officers. They had 1,000,000 soldiers and they all died. However, the rabbis say that this verse means that Hashem really did shave off his hair. If you see have any of you been to London Museum?
Not yet.
No? In London Museum they have like stuff that they found in Assyria, in Nineveh, in northern Iraq, from the time of Sancherib. And if you've seen the pictures, they have like very big beards with circles. You know what I'm talking about? Assyrian
Like
king.
Rasta style.
Huh?
Rasta style.
Yeah. So they have long hair and like big beards. And Hashem shaved Sancherib's beard off. Okay? So like to embarrass him. It's symbolic of Hashem embarrassing him. V'yehei ba'id na'ahu, on that day, Yekayem gvar iglas toirin utrein on. On that day, they'll have no animals left because the soldiers will take all the animals. There'll just be a little bit of animals left, but Hashem will bless that there'll be enough, even from these animals, like 1 cow and 2 sheep, there'll be enough to eat. V'yehei mizgei tuv u'meshach yechol shman arei shman udvash yisparnus and kol tzadikai dishtorim b'goyara. There'll be enough butter, enough honey, and there'll be enough to eat for everyone, for all the righteous people who will be left from Sancherib. Because Sancherib took 10 tribes and he took them to different countries, right? Across the rivers. But all the righteous people he left, from Chizkiyo, he left them. They were saved. V'yihi ba'id nahu, on that day, Yehei kol asad yoin tamon elef gufnin, every place because all the people ran away, so all the places where there was vineyards, there was 1,000 trees of vines, 1,000 vines will be worth 1,000 silver coins, but they'll all be destroyed. Or even all those that were worth so much, they'll be destroyed because the people left them, they were taken away, and they couldn't work the land, and it got all wormy, so it got all destroyed. Begirin or bekashton yachon latamon arei hoivoy borte kol aro. Whoever wants to go into where the vineyards are, he'll need bows and arrows, because he'll have to protect himself from all the wild animals. V'chol Torah de Beis Yehuda, on all the mountains of Yehuda, the Bemader is Palchon, but the mountains of the tribe of Yehuda, which is Chizkiyo, there there'll still be everything growing. Loiteo letamon dachlas evoy obur v'yehei lebeis arbo bakrion the toirin and lebeis mashrei edron daon. But there there'll be enough to eat. It says here, however, there'll just be wheat, there won't be grapes, because the people of Chizkiah will not waste time drinking wine and getting drunk. They'll all be studying Torah. Like it says that they checked from Dan to Beersheba, which Dan is all the way at the top of Israel, right?
Beersheba at the bottom.
And Beersheba is all the way at the bottom. And they found that everyone knew all the rules of Tumah and Tara, all the rules, they all knew the whole Torah. And because they didn't waste time drinking wine and they just studied Torah, they didn't have Ben Azmanim, they studied Torah every day. And the animals, they'll be have enough to eat. The cows and the sheep will have enough to eat. So that's why he explains it here. Okay? That's Yeshaya chapter 8, saying a prophecy about the time of Chizkiah, that even though Achaz was wicked, and that's why the two kings are coming to conquer, they will not conquer the land of Yehuda, and he's going to have a son who's Chizkiah, and will continue the study of Torah. Now we're going to learn Kesuvim, the writings, Divrei Yomim Chronicles chapter 14. Chronicles 1, chapter 14. Chronicles was written by who? Ezra. So this is talking about King David.
Chronicles 1:14.
Yes.
Not 114.
Chronicles 1, the Chronicles divided up into two books.
The first book of
The first book of Chronicles, chapter 14, verse 1. Anyone found it yet?
Yes, yeah.
What page is it?
967.
967. Okay, I'm going to read the whole chapter first. If you want to follow along with me. Vayishlach Huram melech Tzor Malachim el David V'atzei arozim v'chorshei kir v'chorshei etzim livnois lebois Vayeda David ki hechinoi Adonai lemelech al Yisrael ki niseis lemalo malchusoi babur Amo Yisrael Vayikach David oid noshim b'Yerushalayim Vayoy le David oid banim uvanois ואלה שמויס הילודים אשר היו לו בירושלים שמוע ושויבוב נוסון ושלוימוי ויבחור ואלישוע ואליפולת ונויגע ונפק ויפיע ואלישומע ואל יודו ואליפולת וישמעו פלישתים כי נמשך דוד למלך על כל ישראל ויעלו כל פלישתים לבקש את דוד וישמע דוד ויצא לפניהם ופלישתים באו ויפשטו בעמק רפואים וישאל דוד באלוהים לאמור האלה על פלישתים ונשאתם בידי ויאמר לו אדוני עלי נשאתים בידיך ויעלו בבעל פרוצים ויקים שם דוד ויאמר דוד פרצו אלים אויבי בידי כפרץ מים על כן קראו שם המקום ההוא בעל פרוצים ויעזבו שם את אלוהיהם ויאמר דוד וישרפו באש ויסיבו אוהד פלישתים ויפשטו בעמק וישאל אוהד דוד באלוהים ויאמר לו אלוהים לא יסעלה אחריהם עושה בעליהם ובעשו להם ממול הבכורים ויהי כשומע אחוז כל הצעודו בראשי הבכורים וצאצא במלחמו כי יוצאו אלוהים לפניך להכוס את מחנה פלישתים ויעש דוד כאשר ציווהו אלוהים ויכוס מחנה פלישתים מגבוין ועד גוזרו ויצא שם דוד בכל הארצות ואדוני נשא נספחתו על כל הגויים. So this is talking about David. We'll start the Targum, which is written by Rav Yosef. V'shadar Huram Malkut Tzor. Huram was the name of the king of Zor, which is in Lebanon. Tzur in Lebanon, right? There was a big king. His name was Huram. He was a big builder. I think the Freemasons based on Huram, king of Tzur. No? He helped Shlomo build the Beis Hamikdash. But he sent messengers to David, his God in Lavas David, the Kesei Arzin, cypresses, right? In Lebanon, there's these big cypresses, which are very good trees. Ardichlin, by the way, in the mosque in Harabais, I read this whole article that they used some of they still have on the ceiling wood from the time of the Beis Hamikdash made from cypress, like big beams. It's a very strong wood, and they still have it in the mosque. They took it from after the Beis Hamikdash was burnt, and they used it. It's used that in the beams. That's what they think. I'm not sure about that. I never went up there. You're not allowed to go up there, but I saw pictures and articles about it. So Adrichalin is what? Adrichalin de Umnin. It's an architect. Today they call it Adrichal, architect, right? Levinian Koisla to build the walls. The Nagarin, what's a Nagar? It's a carpenter. The Hakimin, the Osmart, the Mikboya, casing to put the wood. Be'idona de Shaltim Bem Maltiso, so the wood should not be destroyed. Veloy misbazim in Sharva, and doesn't split from the heat. Metul lemivne lehechole. So like I said, the wood of the cypress, it's a very good wood. It doesn't split from the heat. It strays for a long time, and that's what he was going to use to build the Beis Hamikdash. V'yidah David, and David knew Arum Askenei Meimra da Hashem Malka al Yisrael. David knew that Hashem had decided he should be king on Israel. V'arum is netolas ikore le'elo, and that he had a lot of honor. U'malchuse min biglalo yitova la'am Yisrael. The reason why he became king, because when he saw that even the non-Jews were sending him gifts, so he realized that Hashem is doing it, so he should, because Hashem wanted him to be king, because he would be a good king for the Jewish people. Even though he didn't get to build the Beis Hamikdash, only his son built the Beis Hamikdash Shlomo, but still he got ready. He got it ready. And David took Noshin b'Yerushalayim, and David took more wives. How many wives did David have? Anyone knows? 18. Yeah, very good. V'oyle David took Benin, and David had more children, Uvnan and daughters, boys and girls. Vilan Shmas Yalodu. These are the names of his children, David Misrabim b'Yerushalayim, that were born in Yerushalayim. Shamua, Shoivov, V'Noson, and Shloimeh. Shloimeh Melech, right? That's his son, one of his sons. V'yivchar v'elishua v'elipolet v'noiga v'nefek v'yofia v'elishoma v'eliodo v'elifolet. So he had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 sons. There was one that's almost the same name. One is El Polet, and then the last one is Eli Polet. Almost the same.
So 5 of the wives, obviously, minimum 5 to have children.
Maybe they had daughters, because it only says the sons' names. I don't know. Ve'oshmo plishtoi arum israbo David l'malka kol Yisrael. And also some children were born before. He had wives before he was. These are the names of the women that the children were born in Yerushalayim, because he was a king before that in Hebron for 7 years. You know, one of his wives was the daughter of Shaul, right? Ushmo plishtoi arum israbo David l'malka kol Yisrael. And the Philistines heard that David became king. Usliku, and they went up. Kol plishtoi lemisbeh is David l'krovo. They wanted to start a war with him. They were upset that he became king. Why? He
was their ex-soldier.
Huh?
He was their ex-soldier.
He killed Goliath, right? Yeah, the Philistines from Gaza, right? Palestinians from Gaza. They didn't want him to be king. Shaman David heard the Nofak when he went against them. Also, the Philistines came with Ratishu b'Meisha Givorai, and they spread out in Emek Rephaim. Where's Emek Rephaim? It's in Yerushalayim, right? Yeah, near Topiot. Oshil David b'Meimer and Hashem. And then David asked Hashem. How did he ask Hashem? With the Urim and Tumim, right? Asked the Kohen Gadol who had the breastplate, and they would ask, and the ladders would shine out, and then he would know the answer. Should he go to war with the Philistines? Should I go to war with the Philistines, and will you give them into my hand? And Hashem answered, Sak, go up. And I'll give them into your hands. And they went up to this place called Baal Perotzim. So it's really the same place, Rashi says. It just changed the name because of what happened. Baal Perotzim means to break the enemy. The enemy got broken over there. And David killed them over there. Amar David, and David said, Tavar Hashem Yosbale Dvove. Hashem broke my enemies. The enemies to David. Kitibur man devchor demolimayin. Just like someone breaks, just like the waves, like the waves that break on the seashore, or the waves that break. So the enemy is broken. Begin Cain Shmoda Asra Meisha Pritzim. That's why he called it the Valley of Breaks. Ad Yom Odein, until today. So that's another name for Emek Raphaim, is Baal Perotzim. So he said it's up to us. You know, Hashem should break our enemy, Hamas. Just like Hashem broke the Plishtim then, Hashem should break Hamas. And then they left, the Philistines left their idols over there. V'omar David said, V'togdu benora, we should burn them in the fire. Burn the idols in the fire. V'shoel tuv David v'mimr Hashem. And then David, v'yisifu tuv v'plishtoi v'srutishu b'meishor. And then again the Philistines came back. They didn't give up. They didn't cease fire. They continued to, even though they'd lost the first time, they continued again. Just like they do today. Right? We cease and they fire. V'shoel tuv David b'meimer Hashem, and then David asked again in Hashem's Hashem, V'amar le Hashem, and Hashem said to him, Lo tiseh basrein, this time don't go after them. Istecha me'al haveim, go away from them. U'sa'ach lo mikobel ilonayo, but go from the berry trees, from the trees. Some type of tree. Hide in the trees, or go behind the trees. Don't go against them. Go behind the trees. Vahi, but when Kamishmoch Yaskol Malachai Da'asan Lasayosach, when you hear the sounds of the angels who are coming to help you, B'chein Tipuk Ikrova, that's when you should go away from the trees and go to war. Arum Nefak Malach Shliach Min Kodem Hashem, because the angel messenger from Hashem is coming Latzvach Kodomach, to go in front of you, Limiktolas Vashirios Plishtoy, to kill the Philistines. So it says here, the reason why Hashem told him not to wait, and not to, he was testing David, because the angel of judgment said to Hashem, why did you kill Shaul in front of David? Why didn't Shaul stay king? So Hashem said, because he didn't listen to Hashem and he didn't wait. He didn't wait for 7 days. He didn't wait, right? He was supposed to wait for Shmuel for 7 days and he didn't. Shmuel said, why didn't you wait till I come? So then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to test David also and tell him to wait. And David waited. He could have gone straight to war, but he waited till he would hear the sounds of the angels. And then he listened. Like it says the next pasuk 16, Ve'avet David heichma depakte Hashem. David did according to what Hashem said. Umachoi yos mashuris plishtoi, and he killed out all the soldiers of the Philistines. Megivon, from Givon. Where's Givon? It's near Yerushalayim. It's near Pisgat Ze'ev. That's where Givon is. Va'ad Gozra, until a place called Gezer. You know Kibbutz Gezer?
I haven't heard of it.
Unefak Shema de David, and the name of David came out b'chol harosa, in the whole earth, in all the world. He became famous. Umeimer d'Hashem remod dechalte al kol ha'memaya, and Hashem gave the fear of David on all the nations. They were all afraid of him because they heard what he had done to the Philistines, to the Hamas, and they saw how Hashem had given him power, and he won the Philistines. So everyone got afraid. That's the Yom. So we finished Tanakh for today. Now we're going to do some Mishnayos. I have 10 minutes still. So today's Mishnah is Kalim. Kalim is a very hard Masechet. It's the first Masechet in Taurus, which Taurus, you know, the Mishnah is divided up into 6 parts, right? Which is the first letters of the word Zaman Nakat. The person needs to take up time to learn Mishnah. Mishnah is the same letters as the word neshama. If you learn Mishnah, it's good for your neshama. Very good for your neshama. If you learn Mishnah in memory of someone, it's good for their neshama. It's the same letters, Mishnah and neshama. And especially Taharis, which speaks about purity. So you have, the first section is called what? The Mishnah? Zeraim, which speaks about what?
Farming.
Well,
For
first,
the land.
farming.
The land.
Well, the first Masechet is called Brachos, which speaks about blessings, starting with Shema, davening, and which brachos you say on food, which brachos you say on lightning and thunder, right? That's the first Masechet. Then you have all the Masechtot that speak about all the mitzvahs of the land, and that there's no Gemara on that, because only Yerushalmi, because that was written. That's only applicable in Eretz Yisrael. But Yerushalmi was Talmud Yerushalmi was written in Eretz Yisrael, so they put Gemara on it. But there's no Talmud Bavli except for brachos, right? So that's the first section. Zroim. Second section is called
Moed.
Moed, which speaks about Shabbos and all the holidays, right? Third section is called
Nashim.
Nashim, which speaks about women, the mitzvah of getting married and divorce and levirate marriage, right? And all about vows, because it says in this week's parsha that a father and a husband can take away the vows of their wife, so it's also in this section, all about the vows, Nadarim. That's the fourth section. The third section. The fourth section is called
Nizikim.
Nezikin, which deals with the laws of, starts off with damages, laws of finding a lost object, being a guard for someone for his possessions, and then it speaks about all the laws of neighbors, right? And then it speaks about the Sanhedrin, who would would make sure that everyone fulfills the laws. Pirkei Avot is also in Nezikin, right? The laws of how to act one with another, because especially the Sanhedrin, they have to be very careful how they act. Makos, about the flogging, right? 39. So that's all in Nezikin. Then you have Kochim. Kochim speaks about sacrifices. And even though the Talmud Bavli, like we said before, was written in Bavel and there was no Beis HaMikdash, but there is Talmud Bavli on Kochim. Why? Why is the Talmud Bavli on Kochim?
I think of two reasons.
Yeah.
One is just because we shouldn't forget about the sacrifices of the temple. And the other I was
But that's not such a good reason, because we also shouldn't forget about the mitzvahs of Meiser and Truma.
we're fine. But the prayer,
But it's connected to the prayers also. Sacrifices. The times of the sacrifices for the daily sacrifices according to prayers also.
Yeah, so
Some
why?
we had also in the exile.
But we have prayers, but we don't have sacrifices. So why do we have to learn all about the sacrifices? It's not applicable
Because,
today.
you know,
Just why
like,
we
because
don't?
the temple's gonna come.
The Gemara, if the Gemara,
The
if,
Mashiach
one
comes.
minute, if the Gemara decided, Rav Ashi and Ravina, who wrote the Babylonian Talmud, decided not to write Gemara on the Mishnah that's associated with Truma and Meiser and Shavias and all that, because it's not applicable in Iraq. So for sure the temple is not applicable.
Yeah, I have more creative answer.
Yes.
Well, we need to bring sacrifices daily or for special occasions. So if we learn about the sacrifices, it's like we bring sacrifices.
Oh, that's the answer.
I knew it.
The answer is because when you learn about sacrifices, it's like you bring a sacrifice. So that's why they wrote the Gemara on it, because it's a very important learning. As a matter of fact, there's a yeshiva called Brisk, which is considered one of the best yeshivas. And they only learn that Gemara about sacrifices. Now, there's no Talmud Yerushalmi on that. However, the Rambam writes that there was, but we lost it. There was Talmud Yerushalmi also on Kochi, but we lost it. There was someone about 150 years ago who knew a lot of Torah, and he wrote his own Talmud Yerushalmi. And he claimed that he found it in India, and he has like a picture. This was like 100 years ago. He has a picture in the front. I've seen this. And he took it to the rabbis, and some rabbis thought it was real. And it was a whole forger. He had forged the whole thing. But there were some great rabbis who knew right away that it was forged, even though he wrote the same way as written in the Yerushalmi. I've seen it in the Panovich library, they have it. So, and finally, the sixth section is called
Tarot.
Tarot, which speaks about purity. And on that section, there's no Bavli and no Yerushalmi except for one Masechet, which is, what's the last Masechet of Bavli Yerushalmi?
Nidarot.
Hmm?
Was it?
Nida.
Nida.
Yeah, because that's applicable today also. Nida, the mitzvah of a woman, the menstrual cycle, that she has to go to the mikveh. So that Masechet does have Bavli and Yerushalmi. That's the only Masechet from the whole of Taurus.
Shouldn't that Masechet be in Nashim? Instead of being in...
No, because it's connected to purity.
It's connected to women as well. Only women. So why shouldn't it be in the Masechet to Nashim?
Mm.
No,
Good question.
We also had a kind of,
Huh?
we also had a kind of purification of men. So I guess that they should make a whole. I guess that it's
No,
right
but you
that
know
they-
what? He's right in a certain sense, because the Rambam, I think, does put it in the part of Nashim. The Rambam puts the laws of Nida in the section of Nashim.
But the Rambam had this style of creating everything according to the
You changed
the
it.
subject.
Right, but the Mishnah, why? It's a good question. Why did they put it in Taurus and not in Nashim? Probably someone talks about it. It's a good question. We have to think about that. Okay, so now the first Masechet means a tractate. The first Masechet in Taurus is called Kalim, and it speaks about all types of vessels. It has 30 chapters. And really it's divided into three. Today it's chapter 13, which is this middle part, chapter 13. So we're going to read it here. Chapter 13. Talks about all the different impurities of vessels. So I'll just read it here. Hasayif. A saif is a sword. Vasakin and a knife. Vapigyon, which is a small sword. It's a knife that has two blades. Varomach. Romach is a spear. Magal yad. Magal yad is used. It's used to break bones and cut wood.
Machete.
What?
A machete.
No, what's a saw? A saw. Well, magal kotzir. Magal kotzir is a saw that's used to cut wheat, and it's round. Huh? Sickle. Sickle. I should really have it with English. Yeah, there's some of the English translation. Vashchoir. A shchoir is a type of razor. V'zug shel saporim, and scissors of barbers. Shenechliku, that divided into two. Harei elu tmein. They still considered impure. So the rule is like this: for a vessel to be impure, it has to be able to be usable. So these vessels, even if they break, you can still use them because they're still sharp. You can still use even a scissor. One part of the scissor, you can still use it for certain things. So therefore, it's still considered a vessel, and therefore it can still become impure. Rabbi Yossi says, Hasomuch liyad, the part that's next to the handle, tomei, that can still become impure. However, vasamuch l'roish, but if let's say the knife broke, so the half that's connected to the handle, Rabbi Yossi says that's still considered a vessel because you can still use it. But the other half you can't really use because it's sharp. How are you going to hold it? So since the other half you can't really use, he holds that it's not tameh, it's tahar. But the halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi, because you can still use it. You can hold it with something, or put some kind of garment in your hand and hold it with the garment. So therefore you could still use it. Misperet shenech lekol ishnayim. This is also some kind of scissor. This is a scissor that's bent, a bent type of scissor. Rabbi Yehuda metame. Rabbi Yehuda says it's tameh because you can still use every part of it. But Chachamim metar, Chacham hold the halacha is like Chachamim. You can't really use it. It's very hard to use this bent scissor if it's broken. If it's still connected, you can use it. But if it's broken, you can't use Now here the next Mishnah talks about vessels that have two parts to it. It's kind of like Swiss knives, right? You buy a Swiss knife, it has all different parts to it. So the first one is called colygriphone. Colygriphone is some kind of vessel that one side of it is a fork and the other side is a spoon. You ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, like army
Yeah, like an
cutlery.
Army cutlery?
Yeah.
Okay, so they had it in the time of the Gemara,
Wow.
right?
I just
So
so small right now.
one side is a spoon and one side is a fork. It's called colygriphone. I think it's a Greek word.
That's great.
So the question, colygriphone shenit lo kappa, which the spoon broke off of it. So you can only use it as a fork. Tomeo. You can. It's still tamei mipnei shino because you could still use it for the fork part. Nid lo shino, and the opposite also. If the fork is missing, tomeo, it's still tamei mipnei kappa because you can still use the spoon part of it. Mikhol. Mikhol is a type of thing that women use. The one side of it is sharp that you use to put the blue on the eye. What they call it? What the women put on the eyes?
Mascara.
Mascara. And the other side, you clean your ear with it. By the way, you have to be very careful if you use Q-tips.
I'm using.
Sorry?
What happened a few weeks ago, I had this terrible headache. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you have something right next, it was on this side, right next to your earlobe, I'll try and get it out. And the doctor poured water in it, and what was it, something else, some medicine, hydrogen peroxide, and it didn't come out. And then the doctor gave me a prescription to go, he said it's wax. He said, it's a hard piece of wax next to my eardrum. So he gave me a prescription to get some kind of wax softener to put in my ear. And I put it in, and it wasn't helping. I was trying to get it out, they gave me also more, like a syringe to
In
put
America,
hydrogen
this is
peroxide in.
America.
Yeah. And nothing helped. And then one day I had this really bad headache, so I just went to the emergency room. And I said, can you get this thing out? You know. So the doctor, I guess he was better than the first doctor I went to. He got this syringe, and he got the whole thing out, and it wasn't wax. It was a piece of a Q-tip that had fallen in, and it had been in my ear a few weeks already. It was all dirty and everything with wax, but it was a piece of Q-tip. So you have to be careful because sometimes it fall off and it goes in your ear. Okay, so anyway, but here they had this thing that was hot, something that women used to use. So one side was like a spoon to clean the ear, and the other side was to put mascara on the eye. So they were the same thing. Michol shanita lakaf, the spoon to clean out the ear fell off. Tomei b'pnei azochar, because of the part for the eye. Nita azochar, if the part of the eye for the eye fell off. Tomei b'pnei akaf. Machtev shanital hakoisev. Okay, this is a pen that one side of it is sharp. It's not really ink, and it's to write on wax. And the other side is hard to rub out the wax. So you write in the wax, it's not ink, it's a type to write on wax. You know how they used to use wax for stamps and stuff? So people used to write on wax. So they have one side to write on the wax, and then the other side is to stamp it out if you make a mistake. So, nital, the same thing. So Tomei, nital, machtev shenital hakoisev, if the writing part fell off, Tomei pnei amoichek. Nital amoichek, Tomei pnei hakoisev. Zumal listro, shenitlo kapo. This is also some kind of, one side it's like a bigger spoon to take the stuff out of a big pot, and the other side is a fork. It's the same as before, but it's a bigger one. Shenitlo kapo tmei b'nei amazleg. Nitlo amazleg tmei b'nei kapo. V'chein hashen shel madeh. There's also some kind of instrument that one side you use to, it's like to dig the ground, to dig in the ground.
Nice, right?
A spade. One side is a spade, and the other side has like a fork to break the earth part, the parts. So also,
Super heavy.
what?
This must be super heavy object.
They were strong then.
And shir kulon k'dei lasas melachton. the amount that would be Makabel Tumah, if you can still do any of these things with it, then it's Makabel Tumah. Then it's okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
Eshkoch.
Yeah.
Shkoch.